Well, it's almost inevitable that the Liberal National Party in Queensland will win the upcoming October 26 election and become the first Liberal Conservative opposition to win back a mainland state government in Australia. Many on the right side of politics are actually far from excited about the prospect. They view a win by David Crisafulli's LNP team in the Sunshine State as a hollow victory and a somewhat undeserved reward for a modern Liberal National Party and coalition that has failed to stand up and fight for core classical liberal and conservative values in a culture that's awash with left-wing ideas. Two people who definitely feel this way are former Liberals Campbell Newman and Senator Gerard Rennick. Senator Rennick was someone who stood up for core values, but he lost his place on the Senate ballot for next year's federal election for not towing the party line. He's now started his own party, People First. Mr Newman was the last LNP Premier of Queensland, kicked out of office in 2015 after just one term because many say he went too hard too fast on reform of the public sector and trying to cut back costs. 8 years later, and the state has plunged into obscene levels of debt, now owing more than $130 billion. And that's on the way to a forecast $188 billion by 2027. That's more than the federal government's debt used to be. It's around $75,000 per Queensland taxpayer. How do you feel about that, Queenslanders? Or $37,000 for every man, woman and child in the state. It's absolutely nuts. But of course, this isn't just Queensland. Victoria's even worse. And it's the state of all of Australia today, pretty much. And many people just don't realise it or understand what it actually means for us and our kids to be carrying so much government debt because of too much government waste and overspending. This week, I sat down with Mr Newman and Senator Rennick for a wide-ranging conversation on the state election and the state of politics and economy in our country. That interview will be available in full on Sunday night on our YouTube channel under the Other Side Extra playlist. There are now 3 playlists on our YouTube channel. The main one for all the weekly full Friday night 1-hour shows. The segments playlist, which is the nightly segment clips that we take from the full Friday night shows. That's for people who prefer to watch in shorter bites. We put a 5 to 15 minute clip out every night, Saturday to Thursday. And now the new Other Side Extra playlist for our no-frills, long-form, podcast-style chats with interesting people on interesting topics, which we'll just do whenever we feel like it. And that's where you'll find this full discussion with Gerard Rennick and Campbell Newman dropping on Sunday night. Campbell Newman made the point in our interview that many Aussies don't really see the connection between the cost of living crisis and a lot of the social policies like net zero and its impact on energy prices. And he says the main reason that many Aussies don't understand that connection is because the Liberal and National parties don't explain it well.
Well, I think the cost of living is like an issue that just has people cranky, and stressed, and that's not good for an incumbent government. I mean, the vision that I would have for the state is that, and I'm in the Libertarian Party now, our candidates, and we've got 4 running for seats in South East Queensland. Our vision is that, this state should be the Texas of Australia. And what Gerard has just said is exactly the potential of this state, which is being held back by government and by regulation. The important thing, though, in the campaign is where's that sort of positive story from the LNP, that sort of vision? It's not there. And then the other thing the LNP aren't doing is they're not joining, and no politician really seems to be doing it at the moment, they're not joining the dots for people that high taxes and charges from the state government, while you don't actually see a tax bill yourself when you PAYG tax, they actually do significantly increase your cost of living. So, for example, all this crazy net zero stuff and the rush to renewables has meant that electricity prices have gone up. So on one hand, the price of electricity has gone up. And those, by the way, the electricity supply industry in Queensland is owned by the government. And so they're raping and pillaging you here, but then he gives you, because there's an election on $1,000 over here. It's just completely fraudulent. The price of a cup of coffee, a loaf of bread, is influenced by the land tax on the premises where that retail outlet operates. that's there, and we should be making the case to Queensland is, listen, bad government that wastes money has to put up taxes and charges far higher than they need to be, and that actually is impacting on your cost of living.
The Queensland state budget just for this year has already blown out by $9 billion from about $70 billion to $80 billion. That's a whopping 13%, and that's sure not helping that accumulating massive debt. And let's not even discuss Victoria. Senator Gerard Rennick gave us his view of how he thinks the Queensland election between incumbent Labor Premier Stephen Miles and the LNP opposition leader David Crisafulli will pan out.
I think it's more than likely that Crisafulli would win. Is that the ideal situation we want? No, it's not, because we've seen David have been very weak in upholding the party values, in particular when he didn't oppose the treaty last year in Cairns. But what was worse about that was that the convention about 2 or 3 months later is that the members of the party who were very, very upset about the fact that the state side didn't oppose the treaty were effectively shut down by David Crisafulli and Lawrence Springborg on the convention floor. Now, that sort of behaviour is the behaviour of, I don't know, I think a thug's probably a bit too heavy, but it's the behaviour of someone that isn't open to opinions and isn't prepared to fight for the values of the party. And that one's a not a negotiable one. Sometimes, politicians, let go, or, aren't as steadfast with their values because there may be, genuine other need.
But the Liberal Party do have this identity politics problem. They persistently fail to stand up against identity politics. They consistently follow the Labor Party lead on all of this stuff. Too scared to speak out, and it's something that both of you have probably had to deal with. But
70% almost just slightly off 70% of Queenslanders said no to the voice, and that was always going to be the case. And why Crisafulli would do what he did, as you just said in Cairns, it's just beggars belief. I mean, what. One side of it says a complete lack of political judgment to not be able to feel the pulse of Queenslanders. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a surprise to you, Damian, or you, Gerard. I was probably surprised that it got to 70, but if you'd asked me prior to the thing, I'd have said at least 62, 63% in Queensland. And yet they go off and have this sort of harebrained adventure, with the left.
There seems to be a lot of disconnect between what the public want and what the major parties are delivering at the moment. I mean, there's dissatisfaction on both sides. Certainly on our side of politics, there is a dissatisfaction with the Liberal Party and a lot of people who are not going to be necessarily celebrating or excited about an LNP victory finally in one state in Australia coming up if they do win. That's a bit of a sad state of affairs, isn't it, Gerard?
It is a sad state of affairs, and it's not just, and there's two sides to this disappointment, right? You've got your red meat issues, which is, COVID, climate change, identity politics, and we are weak on that. But not only that, though, we're weak, and when I say weak, this is the entire political spectrum, are actually weaker on bread and butter issues like taxation issues, monetary policy issues, dealing with our bureaucracy. I mean, the first motion I put into Parliament as an independent senator was to have a federation convention or get the Legal and Con to investigate holding a federation convention to look at the duplication of roles and responsibilities between the state and federal governments. We don't need two environment departments, education departments, water departments, health departments, so on.
Can't afford it.
I'm linking, one of my policies is I'm linking reforming the bureaucracy, getting rid of renewable subsidies and means testing that defined benefit scheme to give a $3,000 tax cut to everyone. Right, lift the tax-free threshold to $40,000, and we need to get back to basics. People are paying way too much income tax in this country.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing. It's crickets out there, even amongst the coalition and Peter Dutton and Angus Taylor, and they will not release a policy. It's a Punch and Judy show down here. It's a circus in the Senate, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in the lower house. They won't release policies until 2 or 3 weeks before the date of the election, by which pre-polls opened. There's very little scrutiny over those policies. The election's won or lost, and then they go back into the Punch and Judy show.
Senator Renick and Campbell Newman. It's a great discussion. You can watch it in full from Sunday night, right here on the Other Side YouTube channel in the Other Side Extra playlist on our homepage on YouTube. Did you know that for every 2 to 3 teachers in Australia working hard in classrooms across the country, There is one taxpayer-funded bureaucrat sitting behind a desk doing admin and making and enforcing rules and regulations that make those teachers' jobs even harder. That's right, one bureaucrat for every 2 to 3 frontline teachers. That's how bloated our public service has become. But you'll never hear about it from the regular teachers' unions because they also represent many of those public servants. So says the leading alternative teachers' union in Australia, the TPAA. If you're a teacher, it's time to change to a union that will not only look after you without using your money to support the Labor Party, but which is taking on the government education system to sidestep those bureaucrats and use the savings to pay all teachers 25% more. The current waste must stop. All the red tape doesn't just suck up resources and time, it actually takes the teachers away from teaching our kids and it wastes their time filling in crazy paperwork for meddling bureaucrats. So join the union that will actually stand up against big bloated government. Join the TPAA, the Teachers Professional Association of Australia. To find out more, just Google TPAA. The TPAA's fees are half the price because none of your money goes to any political party. And as an Other Side viewer, if you use our special code OTHERSIDE1 when you sign up, you'll get a further $100 off your first year's fees as a rebate on your first payments. Go to tpaa.redunion.com.au, tpaa.redunion.com.au to sign up now for a better union and support the Other Side too by supporting our sponsors. Thank you, teachers, you legends. If you like that clip, there's more where that came from in our full show, The Other Side. You can watch it right here, the latest episode. And please subscribe to our channel by pressing the subscribe button right here or down here. And remember to click that notification bell too. It all helps. Join us and become part of The Other Side.